Welcome to Tuttle Talk, a part of the Real Estate Radio Network. And now, live in studio, offering you a fresh perspective. He's your local real estate and finance expert. He's part of the Common Sense Party, and he's committed to teaching you how to win in any market. Your host, Andy Tuttle.
Good afternoon and welcome to Tuttle Talk on the Real Estate Radio Network, where we teach you what the rich and the banks do, not what they tell you to do, and where we dispel the misconceptions of financial wellness and the local real estate market and show you how following a few key principles really can free you up to focus on the other important areas of your life, like your friends, your family, and the community. It's the most important hour of radio every Sunday right here at 3 p.m. on 660 a.m. The Answer. I am your host, Andy Tuttle. I've actually been in the mortgage business for 12 years, and I run a branch of a mortgage company now with Oak Mortgage, a fantastic, innovative, cutting-edge company who is doing some amazing things and has some audacious and ambitious goals of changing the way mortgage is perceived in the industry and how the homeowner experiences that. And I'm so privileged to be a part of that. NMLS number 184325. Again, I've been doing this for 12 years, and I've seen a lot of people make mistakes, become house rich and cash poor, just feed and buy the lie that the media gives us all the time and make mistakes. I've made my own mistakes in buying homes and buying into that lie financially and in real estate and in all areas, and I got tired of it. I'm tired of it, and I'm trying to dispel some of that and get you to the truth so that you can have a prosperous future for you and your family and make smart decisions, informed decisions. That's not all the muck that has all the agenda out there and the rest of the media. And that's why I vet great guys. Some of them are with me today. Gabe Abshire's on the show with me today. He owns Utility Concierge. Gabe, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Highlight of my weekend. I love it. Just gets the week started off great. Glad to be here.
I taste just a hint of sarcasm there, but I'm going to believe 80% of that's true.
Buddy. Wow, I try to be serious, and that's what I get.
No,
hey,
it's the mountain man look. It's the beard. I am not used to the beard yet. But I have guys like Gabe on who own Utility Concierge because they offer a genuine service to the community, not only to you as a homeowner, but also to the realtors in the community. You really got to look it out. Go to utilityconcierge.com to find out more. Or go to our fan page, Tuttle Talk. You can find us on Facebook. But, I mean, this guy basically provides a free service to set up your... So you know how when you're buying a home and you got to... not only do you have all the weight of trying to find the right home, you don't want to make a mistake there, you want to find a good deal, you want to negotiate the contract, you got 28 different people, 8 different companies involved, almost 30 people now in a real estate transaction. You're juggling moving and work and how to make everything happen, huge change in your life. And then you got to set up security, moving, internet, phone, cable, all of that stuff. And so there's all those extra calls that you just don't have time to make. There's just not time enough in the day. Well, Gabe realized that several years ago and has created a company that now takes all of that off of your plate for free. And a lot of times they find you better deals than you can find for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. We have exclusive rates through some of our vendors. And, you know, it's great that we live in this wonderful state of Texas that you have so much choice, but it makes that your decisions a little more complicated.
Right.
And so we present you with those options and really narrow down the choices that you truly have and help you make a more educated, informed decision on what you need for your house.
Yeah, and that's so important because it's like why Bing came out. You know, we have all this information, but sometimes it's like too much, a glut of information, and you get paralysis by analysis. And so when you can come in as a non-biased third party, come in there and help them create the best choice for them and understand it, because you guys and your team has a ton of experience in helping people do that. It really makes it easier and just takes a lot of weight. And that's why my clients love it so much. And that's why I have guys like Gabe on the show. And also have estate planning attorneys, financial advisors, and I also have insurance guys. One of those actually the insurance expert that I use, and it's on this show, and because he's got a wealth of information, he's been in the game a long time, and he's just got a real heart for serving people and doing good business. And that's John Allen, owner of Texas Community Insurance. John, good to see you, buddy.
Glad to be here.
No, so for you, John, I got a question for you later today on the show, because all this ice stuff's been happening, right?
It's been happening big time.
Ice-pocalypse has come upon us.
Apocalypse.
Snowmageddon, whatever you want to call it or have heard out there. And, I mean, at my house, actually, everywhere, we were driving around the neighborhood. We live in an older neighborhood over by White Rock. And, you know, the big trees, and they've fallen everywhere. Some people got stuck in their driveway. We actually got stuck in our driveway for a bit because the ice weighed them down so much. It's like the branches were just in the driveway.
They droop and then they snap.
Yes. And so, actually, glad you brought that up, John. So one of our trees snapped. And part of it has fallen into our neighbor's roof. Now, it doesn't look like damage is done, but don't answer it now because I want to get to that in a minute. But I'm going to ask you, John, and if any of this has happened to you, you want to stay tuned for this. John's going to answer what happens when your tree part of your tree now has fallen into your neighbor's yard. It's those property line disputes or whatever that goes on. I just want to take care of the lady, but I want to find out the answer to that. Also, I have a praise for you, John, because
you're praying for me. Or
I'm a praise. I got to commend you on something.
We all pray for you every day.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We do. Pray for me, please,
and shake your head knowingly.
Yes. But I also did something very stupid to my wife's car that caused her windshield to crack.
Uh-oh.
Hot water?
No, I didn't do that. I'll tell you what I did in a minute. But your company, zero deductible, I didn't even know I had that set up. Would have cost me like $500 or something. But John set me up right before I even knew what was going on. I'll tell you all about that coming up. But it was a huge deal. My wife was like, oh, my gosh, I love John Allen. I was like, me too. This is great. Because I was going to be in major heat if I had done all that. But we'll get to that in a minute. On today's show, besides that, we also have... we'll talk to them about all the ice and weather conditions and what that means to you and what you can do if you've done some stupid things like me, if you're as dumb as I am, which is going to be very hard to do. It's going to be, let me tell you, don't aspire to that.
Why is my mic muted?
Right.
What's going on?
Mute, Gabe. But also, we are talking with the owners of CEO of Oak Mortgage Group is here. That's the company I'm telling you about that I've been able to join up with and tell you about why they're so passionate about and what they're doing. That is why they think the mortgage industry is headed in a bad direction, and that's really bad for home ownership and what we're doing about it at Oak. And also why we, for every home loan you close with us, we create a microloan in a third world country. It's a fabulous story. And it is powerful stuff. In fact, a few years ago, it was called, the year was made, they made the year of the microloans for this guy, Eunice, that started this concept over a decade ago about creating microloans. We'll tell you about that, why we think that's so important, and why we put our money where our mouth is on that, and why that made me so excited to work with these guys, because they're so passionate about that. And then we're going to get with our special guest today, Kim Olson. Kim Olson has actually served in the military for over 25 years. She's actually a colonel, Kim Olson, and she is the CEO and president of Grace After Fire. And it's basically a nonprofit, and it's created to help women veterans help themselves by giving them the tools they need to transition from military life back to civilian life, because that's a big transition. And it's a big transition for everybody and the families. And so we're going to talk to her about what she's doing and then how you can get involved, because I don't care what your political leanings are. Troops need our help. It's very, very tough. There's a lot of damage that goes on, and there's a lot of pain that happens in families. I know I have military family. I never served, but my dad did. A lot of my friends have served. My top mortgage coach, Jason Browning, served. And it's just tough stuff. And we've had some friends die in the military. Some one of my friends' fiancés, died over there, and it's tough. It's just tough all the way around. And so it's real, and this lady is helping the women that come from that. So we want you to stay tuned and hear about that special story and how you can get involved there. Remember, during the show, after the show, anytime you can get our off-air hotline. You can call us at 469-319-0660, 469-319-0660. You can also text the word TALK to that number anytime throughout the show, and you will get the whatever that our expert contributors are offering. So they offer free reports, educational material, quick analyses. Sometimes we do some coupons, stuff to just keep you engaged and keep you save money wherever we can. And so they have been generous enough to offer that as well as their time and advice. And so we want you to take advantage of that. You can do that there. And you can also join us, of course, on Facebook. Just look up Tuttle Talk. And, of course, you can get all these shows and past shows and find out all kinds of information about the show at andytuttle.com. So coming up, I'm going to get with John Allen. We're going to find out the story. What's the answer to the mystery of what happens? It's like that, what happens when a tree falls in the forest and no one's around? Does it make a sound? Well, this is what happens when your tree falls on your neighbor's roof.
Who's going to make the first sound?
That's right.
What happens from an insurance standpoint, or what happens otherwise?
Yeah, well, maybe both. We'll get into both. But mainly the insurance standpoint, and then why I owe John Allen a debt of gratitude for keeping me out of the hot seat with my wife. All that next. Welcome back. You are listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. I'm going to get into what I was telling you at the break, that I have my tree, part of my tree, big branch, fall into my neighbor's roof. And John Allen here, so glad you're here today, is going to give us the answer on that. But, and also what I did to my wife's car. Oh, my gosh. I'm so glad I had good insurance and the right insurance. I would have been in major hot water. But, it wasn't just that. That's not the only thing that happened. An ice apocalypse. I mean, I swear I went to my grocery store and I took pictures and posted on Facebook because it was like crazy. There were no eggs. When the grocery store was like, they wiped out eggs. They wiped out actually all the good chips. This one guy was really irate about it. He was like, man, all you can get is spicy Cheetos. I was like, what?
He's been in the house for way too long.
It's like, buddy. But those things happened in the ice apocalypse. Also, a lot of people lost they lost, electricity. There was, that was horrible. Brian, our show producer, was one of those, 250,000 people that lost their power. And then if you didn't lose your power, sometimes you still lost other things. There's a lot of other stuff happening.
Yeah, we had a lot of people that lost their cable provider. So, I mean, a lot of people, that had satellites, maybe they'd be in and out for a little bit, just because of, maybe a tree in front of the satellite. But that pretty much corrects itself pretty quickly. But, if your cable goes out, they can't roll trucks, right? People aren't driving. They're closed for days. So, I mean, there's a lot of people during the ice apocalypse that had no cable. One of our concierges actually had house guests the whole time because his neighbor had a cable provider. They were out. He had satellites. Everybody's at his house all weekend. So it's good for him. His beer was stocked. He had plenty of food, but he had house guests all weekend. So
that's hilarious. I mean, that's how much we like TV now. Well, that's what we do.
It's crazy, man. It's. I mean, you see how much TV you watch, but then I was cooped up in the house for a couple of days and just looking at all the stuff I had recorded on my DVR. I'm like, are you kidding me? I got through it all, but I'm like, come on.
You sacrificed.
At least you're all caught up now. That's the good news, right?
Yeah. So now I can read a book.
Yeah, that's good.
I feel a sense of accomplishment for staying home for 2 days.
Yes, right. We do like to watch TV, and hey, man, there's great TVs out there, and it's not too late. I remember we talked about this last week. Not too late to give that a good TV deal as a Christmas gift, is it?
Yeah, a lot of folks give the gift of TV for Christmas since we're all addicted to it. But look, I mean, it's a lot of folks give the gift of DirecTV because it's the most efficient way to get TV to your house. Mm-hmm. And then also, there's a lot of home theaters going up out there. Mm-hmm. Dad getting the big TV, and it's great. We got the big TV, and it's in a box. How do I get it on the wall? So we can help you with that also. We have a great home theater installation company we work with. So if you buy Dad a TV, give us a call. We can get it on the wall and surprise them instead of leaving it in the box for a couple of days.
The man cave special.
Yes.
That is it, man. That's it. So they do, and they connect you with all those great resources. That's what Utility Concierge does. So they're the one called not only for TVs, but security, internet, cable. They'll find the right company, set you up with it. They help you find the right solution for you and get it all. And it's a great deal. You don't pay any more than you would ever pay. It's free. Their service is free, but they hook you up with all these other things. And a lot of times you get better deals going with those people by going through them. But in this deal, too, they'll hook you up with that. They're the person to call for that home theater.
Yeah, actually, exclusive rate through DirecTV through the end of the year, an extra $10 off your bill.
Hey, that's a deal.
Yep. So you text your
text.
Talk.
There you go. Text talk to 4. I was going there.
I know.
Text talk to 469-319-0660. 469-319-0660. Text the word talk. That's all you got to do. We'll get you connected and get you hooked up with that special DirecTV deal so that you can give that good gift of TV and especially if there's another ice apocalypse, DirecTV may be better than the cable if it goes out. Is that right?
There you go. It's the most efficient way to get TV to your house.
And get house guests to your house.
Yes.
If you really are a social person and you want to have more people over to your house, their cable goes out, now they come over to your house.
Entry fee is a 12-pack of beer.
Boom. Now that's a deal.
And a sleigh.
And a sleigh.
Or a sandwich.
Yes.
Okay.
If you came over to my house, you would have seen my wife's car, new car, with a totally cracked window from one side all the way to the other. And the first thing people go, oh, you poured hot water on it? No, I did not pour hot water on it, guys.
Hit it with a scraper.
No. I defrosted it. I turned the car on to warm it up. We were going out for Beth's birthday dinner. Her birthday was on Friday, right? So in the middle of it. So I just went out there and there was, 2 inches of ice on the stinking car, but I've defrosted windows all the time.
Yeah.
I turned on the inside car. I had the heater on, but that heater, I guess, that defroster is really good because my car, because I was warming up both cars because we have just a singular driveway in the front. And so I pulled my car behind her. My car's behind her, so I had to pull it out. So I had to just defrost it. Well, I left it out there for actually like 45 minutes because I forgot about it. We were doing stuff. So maybe that was part of the problem. But mine still had ice on it. It was no problem. So I still had to use a scraper. Hers was so good, most of the ice was melted. So I think that maybe it was just a little too good of a defroster, and it just cracked that window. And so, but we called Texas Community Insurance, and John Allen had me set up so good. John Allen's here in studio with me, the guy I'm thanking right now, because I was going to be in hot water. Beth was really cool about it. My wife was really cool, but I was like, oh, man.
Was she gritting her teeth when she was really cool about it? Not really.
No, she was just, because I was taking her out to a really nice dinner.
Okay.
It was birthday dinner, so she was cool enough. It was going to ruin that mood. But I can tell you, if we had gotten like a $500 bill for my stupidity, it would not have been great. She would have been sweet about it, but I would have felt horrible. But we called up, and it was like $0. And that's because you set us up right. It's everything that you always talk about. It's not about the lowest rate, blah, blah, even though our rate, you saved us like $1,000 a year on our home and auto stuff. But more than that, we got the right coverage. I didn't remember the conversation, and you won't either. You don't remember when you had this conversation with your insurance guy. But when you work with a guy like John, and I love saying this because it really happened to me just this last week, man, you can be sure that when crap like that happens and you make dumb mistakes, boys got you covered. So thank you, John.
You're welcome, my friend.
So let's move on here on Tuttle Talk in the last couple of minutes in this segment here, and we want to spend a few minutes here. So that same day, tree falls over, have big old branch of the tree, breaks, and falls over onto my neighbor's roof. So what happens? I mean, I know it's on me, but what's the solution there? What do I do?
Final answer?
Yes.
You sure?
Oh man,
Right.
I don't know.
I hate when people answer a question with other questions.
Deal
but let's
or
walk
no
through
deal?
this. So, two things.
How much trouble am I in?
No, you're not really in trouble. So, two basic things in your homeowner's policy, right? You've got a liability component and a property component. Let's start with property. Whose property got damaged?
Hers.
Does your homeowner's policy cover her property?
If the so no.
Okay. Liability. What caused the tree to fall?
The ice. Act of God.
Was the tree damaged? Should you have known that it was damaged? Was it basically healthy? What?
It was basically healthy. We even did a canopy, whatever, uplift, last year. So, I mean, it was a nice, healthy tree.
So is there a liability issue in this case?
Oh, my neighbor. Oh, no, my neighbor. This is almost worse.
We talk about gray areas in insurance a lot, and here's where I think I'm going to help you, all right? So I know you don't like what I'm telling you.
Because it's not going to help my neighbor relations.
And for what it's worth to you, yes, I did call the carrier. I said, now walk me through this one more time. I want to make sure I'm right, because for years and years and years, it's the same answer. I just want to make sure nothing's changed, and nothing has changed. Obviously, it's a difficult conversation. You say, well, my tree fell on your house.
Yeah.
But think about it this way. If you had a tornado and a piece of the school a half a mile away blew and landed on your house, would you blame the school for it?
Right.
No, you wouldn't. So the only difference in that scenario is proximity. Well, all right, so you're nearby, but at the end of the day, the tree still fell. It was healthy. There's nothing I could have done as a neighbor to have prevented that.
Right.
Therefore, there's no liability issue. Now, where do I help you? Where I help you is if you call in the claim, you would file it as a liability claim in that scenario, and you'd probably be denied, and then what happens? Now you have a claim on your file, nothing paid out. What happens when you try and renew your premium?
Goes up.
Probably. You can roll the dice and try it if you want to, but my best advice is 90% chance that tree was healthy, that's going to go nowhere. The neighbor can say, okay, this is ugly. I've got to pay for this. How much is it? Maybe you decide as a neighbor you want to do something and help out because you want to be a nice guy. But at the end of the day, that's her issue. That's the way insurance works. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but that is the way it works.
So my tree, because I always thought, I guess that's a property line deal, but my tree on her roof, I have no liability. I kind of feel guilty.
You're kind of happy at the same time.
I'm a little happy at the same time, but I feel bad. I don't want to talk to my sweet neighbor and be like, I'm going to help her out somehow. I can't. And I'm going to talk to a wife about it. But that's an interesting, I thought I would be responsible a little bit, actually.
What I would do is let's get a good roofer out there and take a look at it. Maybe they can, help you a little bit. Maybe it's a $200 fix and the story goes away and you chip in $100 and everybody's happy. Maybe that's how it really...
I am so glad that I have good connections because I can turn to you, Gabe, now. Because I know you are connected with great roofing companies. So
we do. We have a great roofing company that can help you out with that, buddy.
That is fantastic.
So we'll make a good situation out of a bad one.
Yes. Well, but about the tree itself? How do I cut that up? I mean, I just going to call somebody to come out there and just cut that up, right?
Firewood. If you don't want to cut it up yourself and keep it as firewood and or sell it.
Well, I just want to get it off the roof safely.
Somebody big tree?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a 50-year-old tree.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big, monstrous tree.
If it's rotted, then the liability thing kicks back in and your insurance will
it's not a rotted tree.
All right, I'm just saying.
That's a healthy. It peeled off. That's when you know it's a good, healthy tree.
Okay, yeah.
That's why it's not fully off of there even. It's connected. So we got to go in there and...
But somebody would come out and take the firewood and probably cut it up for free for you in exchange for keeping the wood for firewood.
Yeah.
Is my bet.
Okay. All right, we'll try that out. Well... Gabe, hook me up with a roofer. John, thank you for that great advice. I hope you got something out of that. I hope that you don't have that situation. But if you do, or if you're that neighbor like mine, I'm sorry for the bad news on that. You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. If you want to get a hold of if you want to find out or make sure you're covered correctly on insurance, or you don't think you have an insurance you can trust like I can and have this conversation with, I'm telling you, you got to do it. You got to text TALK to 469-319-0660. Or, hey, you can email me, answers@andytuttle.com. Answers@andytuttle.com, and I will get you hooked up with John Allen. He's a great guy, and I know you'll love working with him. He works with a lot of my clients, and I'm so happy to have him in my corner. So coming up, we're going to get with the owner, the CEO of Oak Mortgage Group, and find out what makes that company so special, why they're so passionate about making a difference in the industry, where the industry is headed, what does that mean to you as the homeowner coming up, as far as how much it's going to cost you to get a mortgage, et cetera, and why we are so passionate that every home loan you close with us, we donate and create a microloan in a country in abject poverty. So stay with us. Welcome back. You are listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Oh, I'm excited. Here we go. I have been teasing this the whole show, and now we have here in studio CEO and stylist, should be, CEO of Oak Mortgage Group and super fashionable guy, Holden Thomas. Holden, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, Andy.
I can tell. Very good. He's so calm and cool, like the Fonz here. Hey. And then also CEO of Rising Tide Consulting, Jason Sherman. Jason, thanks for being here.
Thanks. Honored to be here.
Yes. I'm happy to have you here. And we're keeping Gabe around, but I'm having him on mute. So if he wants to talk, nobody's going to hear you.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, I guess the mute button doesn't work. That's screwed up. So Holden is, I told you, I guess it was last week, that I was very excited to make a move to Oak Mortgage Group. And they're a very innovative company. They're cutting edge in so many ways, and in how they relate to the customer and how they want to change the way that homeowners, that you experience homeownership, experience the process before, during, and after. It's not just about closing of the home. It's everything that happens before and after you're in the home, and management of that mortgage, and helping you really have a memorable and enjoyable experience. You know, I've been passionate about that for a while, and there's so much more to it. And Holden, I want to appreciate your vision, and I think that's what draws a lot of people to you and has drawn them to you over the years. But what got in your craw that there was something wrong in the mortgage industry that you needed to do something about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that having been in the industry for a while and seeing the crash come and lending changing a lot. And, you know, I came face to face with a lot of issues in the industry that I didn't feel good about for the sake of the consumer. And so I think I got passionate about seeing the consumer being taken care of. And I think with the crash, a lot of people were taken advantage of. A lot of people ended up in situations that weren't the best for them. I just think that there was not good leadership in the industry. So I was excited about trying to influence the industry in a positive direction, something that really at the end of the day benefits the consumer and really is built and tailored to the needs of the consumer rather than tailored to the needs of the owners of the company, the shareholders, or Wall Street. It's thoughtful of the average homeowner. So that's kind of where I got started in really trying to create a vision that starts there with the consumer experience.
And I think that one is a noble idea. And I think that our government is actually, they say they try to do that. They create all these programs, and they create HARP and HARP2, and they do all kinds of, make all kinds of acronyms that you don't understand. And unfortunately, maybe even through the best intentions, they don't work. And that's been proven over and over again. And I think one of the reasons is it needs to be done on the lending level. It has to be done on the individual mortgage company level. Regulations can only go so far, and what they've actually unfortunately done is made it harder on the consumer, created more paperwork, involved more compliance, shut down companies, driven prices up, and made more ambiguity. And so what I get excited about and align with what you've done, Holden, is you've seen a vision and created a way and are in that process now of figuring a way to get away with to do away with that and cut through that, even though we have to deal with it in our environment, and still put the consumer first, the homeowner first. Yeah. And so what do you see now? Because there's a ton of mortgage companies out there, man. Now, what do you see happening in the next few years on the landscape of the mortgage industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see what changing is there's a lot of, with the regulation you were speaking of, the government came in after the crash and tried to, increase regulation in an effort to protect the consumer. But I think that it's had an actually negative impact. The intention was to protect the consumer, but a lot of the effects of that have led to just a more convoluted process. A lot of companies are afraid to get into the mortgage space because they don't know how to. They're afraid of navigating all the regulation. They've increased net worth requirements. Other companies don't have the money to get into space. And so who's going to really come in and figure out how to help the consumer navigate through this? And so somebody's really got to step up. Companies have really got to step up. And what I see is an aging of the mortgage industry. There's not a lot of new blood coming in the industry, and a lot of the companies are getting older, and a lot of the leadership is starting to retire out, which has created a void of leadership in the industry, and especially I think leadership that really cares about the customer experience, really cares deep down about helping educate the consumer, about acting as an advisor and a guide to them. You have a lot of groups out there that want to just churn a bunch of loans through, but I think that people, companies that are really coming in and trying to understand how can we simplify this process and help a lot of the pain points that the consumer's experiencing. I think there's a void there, and I think that people are going to have to step up, and I think the industry is going to have to try to attract back good companies that look to the best, look to the needs of the consumer, and want to provide a service that the consumer wants and needs.
You're listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network, talking with Holden Thomas, CEO of Oak Mortgage Group. And Holden was actually a loan officer. He'd been a loan officer, a very successful one, early in his career, and then decided he wanted to didn't like the way it was being done, decided to do it right himself, and started his own mortgage company back in 2007?
2006.
2006. Mm-hmm. Good time to start a mortgage company. There a couple of years right before the financial crash hit.
Yeah.
But and stayed with it. And what I find interesting, and you talked about this, and you call it the old guard, and I think it's true. If we're just honest about this, let's be honest. Most of the mortgage companies out there, they've been around for a long time. We've talked about this. They've got all these CEOs from these other fallen mortgage companies, and they say that's a plus. So we've got these guys that are honestly tired, wanted to see a payday 6 years ago, a big one, didn't happen, and so now they're doing whatever they can to the best they can for the consumer, but not over them being able to retire at the next boom and getting out. And so it makes it difficult to put them first when it's like, okay, I want to fight for you, but not over how much I want to retire and get out of here. Mm-hmm. So let's be real honest about this. You guys are young guys. And one of the guys you brought in that I respect a ton is Jason Sherman. Jason Sherman, CEO of Rising Tide Solutions. And I think you'll love this. I find this so cool and out there, but in the face of the norm, did a great thing. So he had this company, Aspen Heights, right, Jason?
You're correct.
And so it's student housing. And you created some really beautiful, gorgeous homes for kids to live in.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, they were like naysayers, like, dude, you're spending way too much money. This is not going to work. These homes are too nice for these kids. But you did it anyway, and you've turned that into a $600 million company. Is that right?
Roughly, yeah. That's about how much we've developed since 2006.
How did you do it?
That's a great question. We started with a similar strategy that Holden's taking on the mortgage space, which is beginning with the consumer in mind. And oftentimes in real estate, the people are simply driven by the numbers of the pro forma and how to make them work. We took a reverse psychology and said, we want to know what students want. So we actually went to campus and interviewed 1,500 students to learn about their living experience. And then we customized the product to the needs of the customer. So oftentimes people see these big houses, they think they're nicer than they need to be, or students won't pay the money for that. And we felt very confident that with those focus groups, we had the information of what students wanted, what the primary customer wanted. Another big part of our strategy was building around the customer's experience. We looked in the real estate industry and couldn't find anyone to benchmark that we respected. So we said, who's the best? And we literally went to Ritz-Carlton's headquarters and talked to some of their executives, looked at some of their operation manuals, and said, we want to be the Ritz-Carlton of multifamily real estate and figure out how to create a true world-class customer experience. And those two approaches of really knowing the customer and mapping the product to them and building an experience, a game-changing experience where students are talking about it and bringing their friends in, the results were pretty powerful. I mean, our first year, we were pre-leased 9 months in advance before we even had started construction.
And it went on from there. It blew up from them. That's huge. Pre-leased. You were ready to go.
And this is in the middle of one of the worst recessions we've ever seen for real estate developers. And our ability to attract the customer and give them such a good experience gave us a huge advantage to get construction debt to be able to continue to fund a building and allowed us to grow significantly through the worst time possible. We started our first building in 2006. So think about how much that world has changed in getting funding. And what it takes to do that. Most of our competitors weren't able to keep up because they couldn't get the financing.
That's right. And that's going to happen again. And now you've taken that. Holden has now taken. This is why I love this company so much. And I'm so excited for you and for me, is that now he's taken that concept and what's already been successful. And now he's going to bring that to the mortgage industry. And they're so innovative and they keep going. No one's going to be able to keep up now. And that's what's so exciting about this, because when in a highly regulatory environment that we're in, that you've seen, and you've seen us in not just mortgage and in finance, but in all areas of your life, you need someone that can cut through that and help you and be your advocate that is competent enough to get you through it. And the landscape is going to change in the mortgage industry, and you need to be with a company that is going to help you be and have a prosperous future. And that's why I'm here, and that's why you're going to love working with them and with us. And that's why I wanted to bring him here today. So now that Jason is with Holden, there's something else. So this is going to come, and this company that they're building, that's been around, is going to be the trendsetter. Mark my words, of how the mortgage industry and how the relationship between the mortgage lenders and realtors and homeowners, how it's done. This is it. And so keep watching for that. But one thing I want to talk about before we go to break here, we got about 1 minute in this segment, maybe a little more, is something that's very passionate in my heart. I've been able to go on missions. My dad was a missionary, been able to go to Africa and these other countries and help people in abject poverty. And here in our own backyard, there's a lot of people that need help too. We've been able to do that. But you had a passion for it, Jason. You did it with Aspen for Africa in Aspen Heights. A powerful thing that got the community involved for the right reasons. And now you're bringing that to Oak for the Oppressed. Holden, talk to us a little bit about Oak for the Oppressed.
I think that in the same way that in lending we wanted to look to the needs of the ultimate consumer, I think that in a lot of the research that we did in trying to build out this vision was looking at the needs of humans. And what we found was people's engagement with a job, a big part of it was feeling a sense of purpose in what they're doing. And I think a lot of people spend a lot of time doing work every day, and they feel like they're making money, they're helping their family, but a deep sense of being able to help the world and being able to give to other people, a lot of people don't feel that sense. And so what we wanted to create was that there was something at the very core of Oak that was about the best of humanity, about helping the poorest of the poor. And so Jason had had an initiative with Aspen Heights called Aspen Heights in Africa that with every house that was leased, they were able to provide education and housing for children in Africa. And Jason and I, me as well, I've had a big heart for missions. I've been around the world doing that, and that was just part of the DNA already of Oak. We have a lot of people who have a big humanitarian background or missions background, and so weaving that into Oak seemed like a no-brainer. So we started looking at possible avenues of what could we do, and so we looked at kind of a one-for-one model, which would be for every loan that we're funding, we're giving something away. And what we looked at was an idea called microlending. And microlending is built on the understanding that you make a small loan of maybe a couple $100s in a third world country, and you help someone to start a business. So you're basically giving, rather than a handout, it's kind of a hand up. It is helping to empower people to lift themselves out of poverty. In a lot of ways, that really connected with the vision and the values that Oak has. And that's something that we're very, very excited about, feeling like as Oak grows and expands and is successful, that we're seeing the poorest of the poor actually rising with Oak.
I love that. It's a great story. It is a great purpose for a company. It's something I am on board with. I know everyone that works with you and for you and knows you is on board with. I want you to get on board with that too. It's a great thing, and it's I got to tell you, when I'm looking to doing my business somewhere and hanging my hat as a loan originator with a company, I want to be a part of someone that's doing that and putting their money where their mouth is. If you want to be a part of that too, whether you're buying or you're selling, looking to refinance, or you just want to get connected with another real estate professional or financial professional in the area, get on board with us. Call me 469-319-0660, 469-319-0660, and we will take care of you. I will get you today. Don't forget, you can also text the word TALK to that number. We're going to get you the free utility analysis, get you set up for that TV gift for Christmas from you gave the Utility Concierge, or not a free TV, but get your gift package ready for giving those gifts of TVs, and get on board with us being passionate about helping you create a better, more prosperous future using your mortgage as a financial instrument that can help you create wealth over time. There's a right way to do things. We want to help you do it right because your family is involved in that. Generationally, there's an impact generationally. So we want to help you, and we want to talk to you. So you can reach out to us, facebook.com/Tuttle Talk as well. We are here for you. Coming up, you want to hear this story. Colonel Kim Olson, been given service in the military for over 25 years. Now she's giving back to women who are coming from the military and integrating them back into civilian life. It is not an easy thing to do, but she's got a heart for it, and she's going to show you how to get involved and why it's so important that you do. Next. And we're back. Welcome back, Dallas. You are listening to Tuttle Talk here on the Real Estate Radio Network every Sunday, 3 p.m. right here on 660 AM The Answer. I am here. I told you to stick around for it, and I know you have, to talk with Colonel Kim Olson. She has a nonprofit now called Grace After Fire, and she's also got a book that we'll talk briefly about called Iraq and Back: Inside the War to Win the Peace. And not only has she served for 25 years in the military, but now she is helping women reintegrate after serving into a civilian life. Colonel Kim Olson, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me on, Andy, and thanks for giving veterans a voice.
Oh, it is my pleasure, and I am so excited and behind what you're doing. I do a very little bit. One of the things we do is called boot. We push like a boot campaign too, because we like getting your boots on. That's kind of a fun one, and it supports some military charities, which we think is great. This is how we get involved. But this is something that I really want to get behind because it is it's so important, and what you're doing is so powerful. Before we get to that, though, I think this is so fascinating. Not only did you serve for 25 years, but you were a command pilot, and you flew 6 different aircrafts. Now, which one of those, I have to ask you, is your favorite aircraft, Kim?
Well, my favorite was the KC-135, which is our airborne refueling aircraft, and we used to joke that we'd pass gas in the air. we were important fighters getting over the respective oceans. So
those are, I mean, I only know from the movies, but those are my favorite scenes when, like, they're flying and in mid-flight, these crafts are coming up to you. So you had to you just have to hold that aircraft super steady with all those crosswinds. How do you do that? Was that intense?
Well, with lots of training, and luckily we have a, really good Air Force and good folks and great training programs. So we're blessed to have the great military we have today.
No kidding. And we want to help those military after they get out of serving our great country and doing and risking their lives and many times their sanity because it's tough and getting back here into civilian life. And we hear all the stories, but you've experienced them. So tell us a little bit about what Grace After Fire is.
Well, Grace After Fire is a nonprofit that basically helps women veterans help themselves. And we sort of have a 3-prong approach. Number one, we have what we call outreach coordinators, which are women veterans that are stationed in Houston and San Antonio and the Dallas Metroplex area. And we work peer-to-peer groups. So we put women together to talk to other women, and they help each other, through their reintegration. We have a website. GraceAfterFire.org is our website, so if your listeners want some information, there it sits. And then, of course, we have a 1-800 number that we utilize whenever someone needs some kind of resources, or just someone to visit within their respective area.
So, okay, so then when we're talking about that, Kim, so when you're talking about these women and what they can get help with, I mean, there are a lot of women becoming entrepreneurs now. And can you answer kind of why this is happening and what you do to help kind of fuel that entrepreneurial spirit in these women coming out of the military?
Exactly. I think it's really a great news story, Andy, because, one of the economic engines we have are small business owners that are either creating businesses or expanding their businesses. And right there in the fray are women veterans. They feel maybe compelled to kind of have more control over their life so they don't join big bureaucracies or large companies, and they have great ideas, and so they start their own businesses. I mean, these women are self-motivated. They get problem-solving. They're critical thinkers, and, they're actually battle-tested, no pun intended, but
right.
they've been there. So they figure if they can get some business acumen under their belt, they would make, great business owners and great, employees for anybody that's out there being a small business owner. That would be the one thing I'd encourage your listeners, if they have the capacity to hire a vet, you will not be disappointed if you do.
So that's a good question. What can some business owners do to help veterans find jobs?
Well, they've been doing a lot, so that's a good news story. Is our unemployment rate is really beginning to come down because of shows just like yours, Andy, that get the word out there, and then business folks in their local community that say, hey, I'm going to help my veteran in my backyard, and that's how it really works, is grassroots movement in right there in local communities. So that's number one, is look around within your block. You're going to find a vet if you can help them do it. Two is if you can hire a veteran, either part-time or full-time, because a lot of these kids are going back to a school to try to, hone up on their skill sets. And three is, there's always a great way, not just on Veterans Day, but to thank your local vets, either by just, shake, as much as we sometimes brush it off, we actually do appreciate people coming up to us, acknowledging our sacrifice and giving us a handshake or a pat on the back. It does matter these days. So there are three simple things that folks can do.
Those are three wonderful things they can do. Help them find jobs, get them trained, give them thanks, help our veterans. They deserve it. They really do. And Colonel Kim Olson here is going after to help them. She is one herself. She's a vet, and she is doing everything she can. And you can do just a little, helps so much. And you can also go to graceafterfire.org. That's the nonprofit. And I'm sure there's a place on that site, Kim, where they can give either money or find out places that they can get involved.
Absolutely. We got a big old donate button because that's, how nonprofits work. And, I kind of have a real passion for this, Andy, because those of us with gray hair or chemically altered gray hair, we're kind of the generation to help women get into all kinds of walks of, employee fields, including all kinds of roles within the military. And the one piece we missed was making sure there were infrastructures and safety nets under them to catch them if they do go into harm's way, which many of these women have. So I'm really, really passionate about making sure those organizations that are supposed to help vets, on the back end of this stuff, I want to hold them accountable and make sure they recognize that women vets have served their country right next to their male counterparts, and some have paid the ultimate price. So it's important for the rest of us to acknowledge them and help them when we can.
The Colonel Kim Olson here, the charity, the nonprofit and the website is Grace After Fire. It's graceafterfire.org. Colonel Kim Olson, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks again, Andy, and thanks for giving us a voice, like I said.
You bet. You're listening to Tuttle Talk. You want to find out more on that, go to facebook.com/Tuttle Talk, and we'll get the segment on you. If you missed part of that, you want to get involved, it's easy to do. Help Colonel Kim out, help our vets out, and get involved on that site. That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. I'd like to thank all of my special guests, my contributors, and, of course, our production director, Dan Bradford. You can reach out to us, 469-319-0660. Thank you for listening to Tuttle Talk, where we're making financial intelligence a priority in the community. Have a great weekend.
You've been listening to Tuttle Talk on 660 AM The Answer. You can reach Andy at 214-736-9696. That's 214-736-9696. Or email him, questions@andytuttle.com. Don't forget to become a fan of his show by going to facebook.com/Tuttle Talk. You can also catch previous shows by going to andytuttle.com.